Good morning, Year 2. It is February. It's Monday, the 8th of February, and it is our video for our Year 2 maths booklet. Okay, so if you've got this booklet, you are watching the right video. Okay, so we're going to start with a warm-up today. So well done to all of those children that have been sending photographs of their maths warm-up. So I can really see who's been getting involved and watching our videos, so well done. So I got my spinner back out today, and we're looking today at counting in twos, our 2 times table to get us all warmed up. So I'm going to spin my spinner, and then whichever number sentence I land on, you're going to find the answer and record it on your whiteboard. Then grown-ups, don't forget to send us a photograph. So we've got the 2 times table. So for the whole of our warm-up, we're going to be counting in twos. Okay, let's go. So on your board, write the answer to 4 times 2. 4 lots of 2. So we could draw 4 groups of 2, or we can count in twos 4 times. So 4 lots of 2. Pause the video if we go a little bit fast, so you've got time to work it out. Oh, 9 times 2 this time. So counting in twos 9 times. 9 times 2. 11 times 2. Now we haven't got 11 fingers, so we may need to borrow some grown-ups fingers or use our toes. 11 times 2. Is your next one? 8 times 2 on your whiteboard now. So we've got enough fingers for this one. So 8 fingers, counting in twos 8 times will give you the answer to 8 times 2. 6 times 2. We've had that one already. Oh, it really likes 6 times 2. 10 times 2 this time. And when we're multiplying 10, can you remember the rule? If we're making something 10 times bigger, what do we just need to add on the end if we're multiplying by 10? 0. 0 times it by 10. Just need to add a 0. Okay. Ooh, 12 times 2. 12 times 2. So again, we've got 10 fingers. We may need to borrow some grown-ups fingers, use our toes, or we could draw it pictorially on our whiteboard. Okay, last one, Year 2. Had 6 times 2, let's try another one. 5 times 2 this time. So 5 lots of 2. So counting in twos 5 times. Okay, hopefully that's got us all warmed up then. So there was a little bit of confusion last week because we were looking at different pages and we weren't necessarily going in the order of the book. So today, this video is for the start of measure on page 20. But don't worry if you've completed page 20 already. So you can watch the video and I've got a little task at the end that you can do. Try and refrain from going on to the next page. Because every day this week we're going to look at the pages of measure. Okay, so we're going to be going from page 20 to 23 this week. And then on Friday, we're going to give you an extra measure task. So we're sticking with measure for the whole week this week. And like I say, if you've already done it, brilliant. But try and refrain from doing any more until you see the videos. Okay. So we haven't done any measure in school. It is a brand new subject. It's something new we haven't done. So we're going to have a little look together and hopefully you've got some things at home that can help you as well. So we're just thinking today about beginning to recognise the different units of measure. So the different things that we measure in and how we measure. So my poster here has got all the different ways that we measure. So sometimes we might be measuring the length of something or the width of something, or how tall or how short somebody is. We might be measuring capacity. So that's how much something holds. So how much you can fit into something else. And we also call that volume. Measuring the weight. So we might weigh ourselves. In the kitchen, we have to weigh out ingredients. And then another one down here, we've got temperature. So that's whether we are measuring how hot or cold something is. So every day in our lives, we are measuring probably without even realising it. Grown-ups when they're doing the cooking and they're measuring the ingredients out. But we measure all of these different things in different units. So for measuring the length of something or the width, we measure in centimetres or metres. Now I've got a metre ruler stick here. and 1 metre is 100 centimetres. So if you've got a ruler at home, have a little look at your ruler. So we're measuring the length of how long something is. We use a ruler and we measure in centimetres or metres. Okay. If we are measuring the capacity of something, so how much something holds, so you might have a jug like this in your house. Okay, we've got our science ones as well in school. We measure in millilitres and litres. So we don't measure this in centimetres like we would do length. We measure it in a different unit. Okay. When we're measuring in temperature, we're measuring in degrees Celsius. So that's when we're measuring how hot or cold it is. So I've got my little symbol down here, which means degrees Celsius. And then if we're measuring the weight of something using scales, so we talked about measuring ingredients or weighing ourselves, we measure in kilograms or grams. So we're thinking about measure today and all the different units that we measure in. So I've got here a ruler and I've got somebody measuring how tall they are, and I've got some arrows here and some dimensions of measuring how long and how tall a sofa is. So I'm measuring the length of the pencil, the height of this little boy, and I'm measuring the height, the length, and the width of the sofa. So what measurement, what units am I going to be using there? Will I be using centimetres? Will I be using millilitres, degrees Celsius, grams, kilograms? So if I'm measuring length, what am I going to be measuring in? Have a little go. If you know, write it on your whiteboard. I'm going to be using a ruler, but what will I be measuring in? If you've got a ruler, you can have a little look at the ends. It will tell you what we measure in. So if I'm measuring the length or the width or the height, I measure in centimetres. But for short, we write cm, centimetres, cm. Okay? And if we're measuring something that's particularly long, then we begin to measure in metres, like Mrs. Wood's metre ruler stick here, because 100 centimetres makes a metre. So if it's something that's particularly long, then we're measuring in metres. So on your whiteboard, write cm for centimetres, and that's how we measure the length or the width or the height. Okay. Now here, I've got some containers, and I've got some liquid in here. I've got a can of Coke, a bottle, a milk, just like my little can of, my bottle of sanitizer. And this is where I'm measuring the capacity, so how much something holds. So if you've got any bottles at home, on the back of your bottles, it usually tells you the capacity, the volume of what the bottle holds and how much is inside. Okay, so if you can see there on my little bottle, it says 50. Okay, but what are we measuring in? We're not going to be measuring in centimetres. We measure in millilitres or litres. So on your whiteboard, I would like you to write ml for millilitres. Okay, and then if it's a container that holds quite a lot, so if it holds 1,000 millilitres, then we call that litres. So 1,000 millilitres is 1 litre, but we'll talk about that later in the week. Okay, so have a little look around your house. If you've got any bottles or containers, and have a look on the back, and it will tell you the capacity, the volume of what the container holds. We measure that in millilitres and litres. Okay. So, just have a grown up. What do you think we're going to be looking at measuring now? So we've talked about measuring the length and the width. We've talked about measuring capacity, how much something holds inside. So looking at bottles around our home and containers and jugs. What about if we're measuring the temperature? So how hot or how cold it is. And if you watch the weather, you'll hear the weatherman or the weatherwoman talk about temperature. So if we're measuring temperature, we usually are thinking about degree Celsius. And the symbol for that is a C and then this little circle symbol here. So I've got 2 thermometers here. You might have a thermostat or thermometer in your house which will give you the temperature of the room. Have a look on your oven and see which unit your oven measures temperature in. Okay, so we've got degrees Celsius. I think that's a tricky one to remember. What about our weight then? So I've got someone jumping on the scales here, and then I've got here when we're measuring ingredients using the scales. We've talked about centimetres and metres. We've talked about millilitres and litres. We've talked about degrees Celsius. If we're measuring weight, we are thinking about grams and kilograms. Okay, so there's quite a lot there to remember. And this is brand new. We've not done this in school before. So around your house today, I want you to have a little look at what you can find to measure. So if you've got a tape measure or a ruler, what can you measure the length of or the width of? Have a look at the containers in your kitchen, your cupboards, maybe your tins of beans or your bottles of pop. What's the capacity? What do they hold? Okay. And then in your activity today, in your book, as well as asking you to match the units of measure, so the first questions are asking you this morning to think about what things are measured in, which we just talked about. But then it does begin to look at using a ruler and measuring in centimetres. And Mrs. Wood has found a great game for you to have a go at on Top Marks. And it's called measuring in centimetres. So let's see if it works. So if we type Top Marks into Google and then we type in measuring in centimetres, should be able to find this great game that will help you with your measurings. Very nice and easy, level 1. Okay, so I've got a glue stick here, and you may not have a ruler at home, so this is a great way to practice using a ruler to measure. So we're measuring in centimetres or even metres using a metre ruler stick that we've seen in school before. We start on 0. Okay, and then where our object that we're measuring ends should give us the length of the object. So we're starting on 0, and then I'm going to drag the pointer along here to the end of the object, which is where your finger would go at home. Okay, it should give me the exact measurement, the length of the object. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, year 2, but just tell your grown up how long my glue is. What is the length of my glue? I think it is 10 centimetres. So you might want to have a go at this home, year 2. So once you've done today's activity, this might be a great game for you to have a little go at. So again, I've started on 0, so the point of the scissors are on 0. Just drag the cursor, which should be your finger in real life, to the end of the scissors. And I think that is showing me 16 centimetres. So that might be something that you want to have a go at home. Okay. So today's activity is just matching the units and then beginning to use a ruler measuring in centimetres and metres. And I don't think that's going to take you very long. So at home, what I would like to do, I've got a challenge for you today. Mrs. Wood's Maths Challenge. And in the house at home, I want you to see what you can find in your containers, in your cupboards that are measured in millilitres and litres. So any food containers you have, or cans, or bottles. What can you find that is measured in millilitres and litres? Can you find the weight of anything in your kitchen cupboards? And maybe bags of pasta which tell you the weight in grams and kilograms. And if you've got a ruler or tape measure, maybe there's a tape measure in your house toolbox, what can you measure in centimetres and metres? And I'd love to see some photographs of you discovering measure around the home. Okay. So that's to start off our measure this week. I hope that's been really helpful. I look forward to seeing what you find that you can measure around the home. Okay, year 2. So remember, it's page 20 today. And if you have already completed it, don't go on to the next one. Wait for tomorrow's video. Okay, year 2. Bye-bye.